سبيل الدموع سبيل مريح تنهدى يا صاحي كي تستريح وبث الدعاء الخفي الصريح يسعك الفضاء الرحيم الفسيح سبيل.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I do apologize for my absence last week. Today inshallah we will start. We have 2 weeks before Qurbani, but 2 Wednesdays before Qurbani, this Wednesday and the upcoming Wednesday. So inshallah we would speak about the laws of Qurbani. Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Qurbani, we hear the word Qurbani all the time, right? The word Qurbani actually is not an Arabic word, it's an Urdu word or a Persian word. You will not find the word Qurbani mentioned in the Quran or the word Qurbani mentioned in what? The hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And we have this student, he's supposed to prepare a khutbah on Qurbani for some masjid in Sidras. So I'm telling him, make sure and prepare that khutbah. So, a new student, so we normally give them the material to use. We are the Salihin, Ma'arif, Al-Quran. So after the whole period, he come and he said, Ustad, I'm not finding Qurbani in Riyadh al-Salihin. I'm not finding Qurbani in Riyadh al-Salihin. Right? The word Udhiyah is used. The Arabic word is Udhiyah. But Qurbani, it comes from what? The word Qirban. Qirban in the Arabic language, مَا يَتَقَرَّبُ بِهِ الْعَبْدُ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى. That action done for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. That action done to seek closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Person does an action to seek what? To get closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. By what? In terms of rewards. So that is what? Qirban. And Udhiyah, this is what normally the Arabs would use the word yani Udhiyah. But most of the time, when we ask that person, you prepare for Qurbani, things shaping up for Qurbani, yes, alhamdulillah, things shaping up good, right? And most of the time, our preparation is just with the animal, right? Animal and the place and the slaughter and this and that, right? But Qurbani, understand the significance of Qurbani, right? The philosophy of Qurbani. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, when they saw all of these animals line up for what? Qurbani, to be slaughtered, right? They asked the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, Ma hadhihi al-adahi? What are these animals for? Or these slaughtered animals, or why are these animals going to be slaughtered? For what purpose? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, he mentioned, Sunnatu abikum Ibrahim. Sunnatu abikum Ibrahim. This is the legacy of your father Ibrahim alayhi salam. The legacy of your father Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. When we do Qurbani, it signifies our submission to the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This was the legacy of Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. Him being submissive to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ. When Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned to Ibrahim alayhi salam, Aslim, surrender. Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he replied, Aslam to the Rabbil Alameen. I surrender to Allah Azza wa Jal, the Lord of the worlds. Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, we all know the story, the incident, where in his old age, he didn't have any children. And he made dua to Allah Azza wa Jal for a child, a pious child, a righteous child. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his old in Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, in his old age, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed him with a son, Ismail, firstborn, Ismail alayhi salam. So we could imagine we have a son after so long, we have no children, and after so long Allah Azza wa Jal blesses us with a child. We know we're going to spoil that child. Whatever that child wants, we're going to give that child. We're going to love that child and give that child whatever that child wants. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions, فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ مَعَهُ السَّعْيَ قَالَ يَا بُنَيَّ إِنِّي أَرَى فِي الْمَنَامِ أَنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. And when Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, his son Ismail reached an age where a child will always, at that age where a child would follow his father. Anywhere the father goes, the child would go. Whatever the father is doing, the child next to him. He fixing something, the father fixing, well, he fixing too. The father building something, well, he building too. Whatever he is doing, the father is doing. The child is with the father. And this is an age where a father, that bond between that father and that son, it strengthens, right? It grows. And at this time, Allah Azza wa Jal, He commanded Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam to slaughter his son. Not to send his son to a far land or to leave his son. No, to slaughter his son Ismail alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he mentioned to his son, "Fandur madha tara." What should we do? What do you think? Not what do you think, should we do it or not? No, Ibrahim alayhi salam is preparing him. This is the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. Just like we would say, listen, now it's Salat al-Fajr. Time to go, what do you think? Get ready to go. Time for school, what do you think? We have to go to school. He's preparing him. But Ibrahim, the son of Ibrahim alayhi salam, Ismail alayhi salam, without hesitation, Ya abati if'al ma tu'mar. Ya abati, O my beloved father, if'al ma tu'mar. Do as you are commanded. Satajiduni insha'Allah min as-sabirin. If this is the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, then execute the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. Fulfill the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the ayat it goes on, فَلَمَّا أَسْلَمَا وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. And when both of them submitted to the command of Allah Azza wa Jal, وَتَلَّهُ لِلْجَبِينِ. And Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam places what? The forehead of Ismail alayhi salam on the ground and was about to slaughter. Understand? From here we know that, listen, he's going to be saved. He is not going to be slaughtered. We know that incident, right? We know what's going to happen. Wallahi al-azim, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had no idea that that was going to happen. He was going to slaughter his son. And the narration mentioned he slaughtered, except that Allah Azza wa Jal did not permit the knife to cut. It was not like he had the knife by his throat and waiting for revelation, waiting for Allah Azza wa Jal to mention or to reveal to him, do not slaughter. No, he slaughtered, fulfilling the command of Allah Azza wa Jal. But Allah Azza wa Jal did not permit the knife to cut the throat of Ismail alayhi salam. This is the extent of what the submission Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam, he had for Allah Azza wa Jal, and his son also. Sunnata abikum Ibrahim. Sunnatu abikum Ibrahim. This is what the legacy of your father Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam. So when we do Qurbani, it shows our submission to Allah Azza wa Jal. We submit to the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal. Sami'na wa ata'na. Is this the command of Allah Azza wa Jal? Khalas, we submit without questioning. Without questioning. And this is what Qurbani teaches us. Qurbani teaches us that, listen, we are the servants of Allah Azza wa Jal. We are what? Ibadur Rahman, Ibadullah, the slave of Allah Azza wa Jal. We are the slaves of Allah Azza wa Jal. And a master does to his slave whatever he wants. That master is not questioned. Allah Azza wa Jalla is not questioned. And a slave, what a slave does, fulfill the commands of its master, of his master. And we are the slaves of Allah Azza wa Jalla. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves a person, understand the love that Allah Azza wa Jal He has for an individual. When He loves a person, it's different from what the love that we have for someone. When we love someone, we'll do everything for that person. We'll ensure that person is protected and is not harmed. No difficulty and hardship comes to that person. This is how we show our love to what? To someone. But Allah Azza wa Jal, when He loves someone, إِذَا أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ عَبْدًا إِبْتَلَى. When Allah Azza wa Jal loves a person, He tests that person. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was known as what? Khalil ar-Rahman, the friend of Allah. Look the test that he was given. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, Habibullah, the beloved of Allah Azza wa Jal. And Nabi alayhi salam mentioned he was tested the most. Out of all the prophets, he was tested the most. The most difficulty and hardship came upon him. But that Allah Azza wa Jal, He loves that individual. He's the beloved of Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is lesson for us also. When difficulties come to us, hardship, it's not like, okay, what wrong I do, boy? Who guarantees a person that he comes 5 times salah every day in the masjid, and that person is obedient to Allah Azza wa Jal, and that person fulfilled the commands of Allah Azza wa Jal, and nothing bad going to happen to that person? No difficulty going to happen to that person? Where we get that from? That is not mentioned in the Quran, that is not mentioned in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Rather, the opposite is mentioned. أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرَكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, do people think that they would accept Islam, they would have iman upon me, and they will not be tested? No. لَقَدْ فَتَنَّ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, we have tested those before, and we will test every person that has iman. And Allah Azza wa Jal, when He tests a person, the greater the test is because of greater the iman of that person. That person's small tests he gets in life because the iman is what? Is not to that level. Greater the test is great because of greater the iman, higher the iman of that person. So when Allah Azza wa Jal, He loves a person, He tests that person. When Allah Azza wa Jal loves that person, He gives that person what? Tawfiq to do good deeds and action. Many a times we think that when Allah Azza wa Jal bless a person, Allah bless my son so much. He have what? This job and that job and this and that and whatever. What blessings is that? If he has all of that and he is still what? Obedient to Allah Azza wa Jal, then that is what? A ni'mah of Allah Azza wa Jal, nurun ala nur. But if a person, difficulty and hardship is what coming to that person, but you know what? He's still obedient to Allah Azza wa Jal, he's still performing his salah, he's still adhering to what the laws of the Sharia, then that person is what? Beloved to Allah Azza wa Jal. Even though he may be what? His house is what? A coconut tree or a old shack. This is how we know that Allah Azza wa Jal loves that person. Allah Azza wa Jal gives that person tawfiq, the ability, divine ability to do good deeds and action. Allah Azza wa Jal gives that person the tawfiq to what? Adhere to the sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, to follow the sunnah of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِ. If you claim to love Allah Azza wa Jal, then follow what? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. When a person follows Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهِ. Allah Azza wa Jal would love that person. Allah Azza wa Jal would love that person. So this is the love between what? The love of Allah Azza wa Jal between He has for us. This is how it what? It manifests itself. And these are the lessons from Qurbani. From the lessons of Qurbani also is that the basis of everything Madar qabul al-a'mal, the acceptance of any action of ours, it lies upon our taqwa, our piety, our righteousness, our ikhlas, our sincerity. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions in Al-Quran, لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. When Allah Azza wa Jal wants to reward us for our qurbani, He doesn't look at anything. The first thing He looks at is our heart, our piety, our righteousness. The meat doesn't reach Allah, the blood doesn't reach Allah. Listen, the meat, you can eat all the meat. Yes, you can eat the entire goat if you want. The entire share is allowed, is jais and permissible. They are allowed to do that. So what Allah Azza wa Jal, what He uses, what is the criteria for rewards and blessings? Our piety, our righteousness, our taqwa. Allah Azza wa Jal, He mentions in the Quran, وَاتْلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ بَنَيْ آدَمَ بِالْحَقِّ. O Prophet of Allah, narrate to them or relate to them the incident of the two sons of Adam. إِذْ قَرَّبَ قُرْبَانًا. Both of them did qurbani. Both of them, they did qurbani. And Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned, فَتُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. But the qurbani of one was accepted, and the qurbani of the other was not accepted. Two people do the same action outwardly, but one, his action was accepted by Allah Azza wa Jalla and he was rewarded. The other, his action was rejected by Allah Azza wa Jalla. And this reminds us of the hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu salam. People would stand and perform salah in one line and do the same outward action, qiyam, ruku', sujood, jalsa, qa'da, everything. And afterward, that salah has been completed. They are those people who would leave with what? Full rewards. They are those people who would leave with half rewards. They are those people who would leave with what? 1/3, 1/4. And hadith mentioned, there will be those people who will leave with no rewards. Everybody do the same action. Allah Azza wa Jalla looks at what? The piety of a person, the righteousness of a person. فَتُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ. The qurbani of one was accepted and the other wasn't accepted. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned the criteria for acceptance. إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. Certainly Allah Azza wa Jal, He only accepts from the people of taqwa. Only the people of taqwa, there what qurbani would be accepted. The people of taqwa, their actions will be accepted, their a'mal will be accepted. Nabi alayhi salatu salam, he mentions, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَنْظُرْ إِلَى صُوَرِكُمْ وَلَا إِلَى أَجْسَادِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ يَنْظُرْ إِلَى قُلُوبِكُمْ وَأَعْمَالِكُمْ. Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't look at our bodies, our outward appearance. He looks at our actions and our heart. This is where taqwa lies, in our heart. So if it is that Allah Azza wa Jal doesn't look at our bodies to give us reward, you think that He can look at what the size of our animals to give us reward for qurbani? We're not saying, listen, we do the best animal, right? The best animal we can do, this is what we should do, right? But our rewards doesn't lie in that lie in what? The biggest animal, and the size of the animal. It lies in our piety, our righteousness, and our religiousness. This is what Allah Azza wa Jal, He looks at. And the virtues of qurbani, there are many, many virtues of qurbani. And the Sahaba, this is what they would ask the Prophet alayhi salatu salam. Any things about the akhirah, things about where they can get rewards and blessings, they would always ask the Prophet alayhi salam with regards to that. When they see all these animals line up for qurbani, they ask Nabi alayhi salatu salam, وَمَا لَنَا فِيهِ. What benefit is there for us in this qurbani? Nabi alayhi salatu salam, he replied, لِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ حَسَنَةٍ. لِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ حَسَنَةٍ. Every single grain or every single grain of hair or strand of hair is a reward, a blessing. The Sahaba know, okay, so what about those animals that has wool? فَالصُّوفُ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ لِكُلِّ شَعْرَةٍ مِنَ الصُّوفِ حَسَنَةٍ. Every strand of what? Wool is a blessing. But we need to understand the hadith. Why the hadith mention what? A strand of hair is a blessing. A strand of wool is a blessing. Who will do with the wool and the hair? Will you stew it, curry it, barb it? Who is with it? We discard that, we don't use that. So even that thing in the animal which we don't consume, don't benefit from, generally, we're not saying it doesn't have a benefit, but generally, there's a reward. The Prophet ﷺ didn't speak about what about every strand of what? Meat. What about every drop of blood? What about the lungs? What about the liver? What about the guts? What about... There's no rewards in that. Every single aspect there's rewards. Every single aspect of that animal there's rewards. If it is done with what? Ikhlas. If it is done with what? Righteousness and piety. So this is where the rewards comes in. A person who does it what? With ikhlas, sincerity, righteousness, piety and taqwa. So may Allah Azza wa Jal give us what? Accept our qurbani and give us what? The tawfiq to inculcate what? This sifa and this quality of taqwa in our lives. Because this is the quality that Allah Azza wa Jal looks at before what? He rewards a person. Before He rewards a person, right? He looks at what? This quality of taqwa. As for the ruling of qurbani, right? Qurbani is obligatory upon a person who possesses the means, right? It is obligatory upon what? Every what? Sane, baligh, which is a ritually mature person who possesses what? The nisab on the days of what? Any slaughtering, which is what? The 10th, 11th and 12th. Alright? As for the qurbani itself, what is actually the qurbani? Understand? Qurbani is what? The slaughtering. قربان ذبح حيوان مخصوص في أوقات مخصوصة لوجه الله. This is the definition of qurbani. To slaughter a specific animal specified by the Sharia in a specific timing for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. To slaughter a specific animal specified by the Sharia in a specific timing for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. That is qurbani. So that is why when we're going to purchase animals, we're looking for what? A specific type of animal, right? Even though what Zahir have a turkey over there, 40 pounds, you can't do that for qurbani. Animal is what? Specific, right? You're going to buy goat, looking big and nice, but listen, it's not a year as yet. You're going to purchase bull, right? It must be a specific age, and we mentioned all of that. A specific animal specified by the Sharia, free from what? Defects. And is slaughtered in these 3 days, the 10th, 11th and 12th of Dhul Hijjah, the day of Eid and the 2 days afterwards. So if a person, for example, he has a qurbani animal and for whatever reason he was not able to slaughter it on the 10th, 11th and 12th, then there's no qurbani after that. There's no slaughtering after that. Alright? There's no slaughtering before or after. So if you slaughter before or after, is meat that what? You prepare for your family then. It's halal, yes, but it's not qurbani. It's not qurbani. So, qurbani is obligatory upon whom? We spoke about in our zakat class, okay, who is obliged to pay zakah? Right? We check. We look at what a person's zakatable asset and we deduct the liabilities. And if it equates in his sub, then he has to do what? Zakah. He has to pay zakah. As for qurbani, you use the same calculation. Right? Except that what? If a person calculates and after deducting his what? Liabilities, he does not what? Have the nisab. Then what? It doesn't stop there. That person would now look at his what? Non-zakatable assets. In zakah, you just look at your zakatable assets. your cash, your gold, your silver, your currency, and items for trade. That's what you look at. But with regards to what? The obligation of Qurbani, if a person doesn't have the nisab after calculating his zakah, then that person would look at his non-zakatable assets. Non-zakatable assets are everything other than what we mentioned. A person has what? Vehicles, he has land, he has what? Tools, he has things that is not for sale. Right? But if these things are what? In excess of his need, and the excess amount, it equates or exceeds the value of the nisab, then he has to what? Do Qurbani. So it doesn't mean a person doesn't have cash. Oh, while collecting pension, boy, how are you going to do Qurbani? But once you have what? Acres of land you're not using. You have a set of wells just pack up in the house over there not using. Right? You have what? A few vehicles, right? You're not selling it, but what? You don't have to pay zakah on it, right? But this is what? In excess of your needs. And the excess amount is equal to what? The nisab. So you have to do what? You have to do Qurbani. So I have to go and borrow money not to do Qurbani. Listen, when you speak about a person's asset, cash is one form of a person's asset. Right? We look at what? When we speak about what? We look at the monetary value of a person's asset. Right? A person may keep his what? His belongings, his asset in the form of cash, he may keep it in the form of land, animals, vehicles, this and that, right? So it doesn't mean a person that has to have that, the value of the nisab in cash. No. Alright? I mean, we just use the pension as you know. Listen. Qurbani, understand what makes Qurbani obligatory. Sometimes it's a person, so you're not doing Qurbani this year? You're not doing Qurbani? Nah, I'm not able, right? I'm not able. What he's not able to do, he's not able to what? Slaughter the animal, he's not able to skin and cut up. That has nothing to do with what? Obligation. Nowhere the hadith or the Quran mention, the Sharia mention Qurbani is only obligatory upon a person if he has the physical strength. No. Once that person he possesses what? The nisab. He has to do Qurbani. Right? So what he does, he authorizes someone to do Qurbani on his behalf. So why not do Qurbani by I don't eat red meat and again. Yeah, beef and goat. That has nothing to do with the obligation of Qurbani. You could what? Do the Qurbani and what? And share the entire meat. Share it out. So you're not able to eat the meat, or you're not able to actually what? Physically what? Slaughter or skin or partake. That has nothing to do with the obligation. Right? Understand that is different from fasting. Fasting what? Because of health reasons you cannot fast. You don't have to fast. Right? You don't have to fast, and nobody don't have to fast for you. Right? What you do there, if that what? Sickness is something that is what? Long term. Doctors mentioned, listen, that you have to live with the sickness until you die. So you're not going to find better days where you can what? Make up for this fast. Then you give fidya. Bas. And we always mention this, right? One is Qurbani becoming obligatory upon a person, right? It shouldn't be that, listen, only if it is obligatory I'm going to do it. Many people, they make Hajj multiple times, Umrah multiple times, right? But understand, Hajj, the farad is one time in your life, right? Once in your life. So if you made what, 20 Hajj in your life, it means what? The first one is fard and the next 19 is what? Optional. But why are you still going? That's not mean you don't need a response for that. Because of the rewards that lies in Hajj. Because of the rewards that lies in Hajj, you want to go again. Right? And to visit that place. So that's why a person he will do what? Optional what? Hajj. Otherwise the first Hajj is what? Is obligatory. So, even though Qurbani may not be obligatory upon a person, right? And a person, understand, is not burdensome on a person, it's not obligatory upon him, but it's not burdensome, then what? That person should do Qurbani, right? Qurbani, I mean, was never obligatory upon me, but every year I do Qurbani. But listen, if you need to plan everything, you don't plan a month before. Oh, can't make it, right? Listen, we always mention here, if you save $30 every week, $30 every week, we have man smoking 3-4 packs of cigarettes for the day. Cut down on 1 or 2. $30 for the week. If we have 50 weeks, 52 weeks in the year, right? Leave out 2, just use 50. 50 by 30 is how much? Do the math. 1,500. We are talking about you need $30 for the day to save. A person could do that. Who working, right? Not for the day, for the week, right? But you have to plan now. You don't plan a few months, a month or two, a month before Qurbani. No. Put it in a box. And these days only boycotting KFC. Take all the KFC money and put it in a box, right? You could do a whole, probably a bowl for yourself. Because KFC, I mean, expensive, right? You are paying $30 for KFC. You're paying over $150 for the week, right? In KFC. But anyhow, just $30. I mean, this is food for thought, right? $30, put it in a box, right? And you'll see. 1,500, it might just fall short of 100 or 200 at the end anyhow, right? We need to plan, right? But we say, listen, it shouldn't be burdensome upon a person. The moment it's burdensome, no khala, it's not obligatory, you don't have to do it, right? With regards to the compulsion of Qurbani, understand? The Qurbani is compulsory upon what? Each individual who meets the requirement or fulfills the requirement as we mentioned. For example, sometimes you hear people saying, you know what, I doing Qurbani for me and my family, right? I take a share for me and my wife and my children. If Qurbani is obligatory upon you, that is what? One Qurbani. If it is obligatory upon your wife also, that is a second Qurbani. If it is obligatory upon one of the children, that is a separate Qurbani. So one Qurbani would not suffice for what? Multiple people upon whom Qurbani is also obligatory. Understand? And also what? A sheep or a goat would suffice for one person, not an entire family. One share would suffice for what? One person and not an entire family. You have what is called Nafil Qurbani. What is Nafil Qurbani? Understand here. Nafil Qurbani doesn't mean a person upon whom Qurbani is not obligatory, he's doing it. No. If Qurbani is not obligatory upon a person and he is doing it, now he makes it obligatory upon him and becomes an obligatory Qurbani. What is a Nafil and an optional Qurbani? For example, listen, a person Qurbani is not obligatory upon him. He purchased an animal with the intent of Qurbani, now he has made Qurbani obligatory upon him. So that is the obligatory Qurbani. Right? What is a Nafil Qurbani? A Nafil Qurbani is a person, as a Qurbani in which, listen, a person already fulfills his Fard Qurbani. This is my goat, this is my sheep, this is my share. That is my Fard Qurbani or Wajib Qurbani. Now he takes another share, another sheep or another goat, right? So the second one now would be what? Nafil. The second one would be optional. With that second one now, that person can intend what? On behalf of this deceased, that deceased, right? On behalf of the Prophet ﷺ, multiple what? He could have what? Intention for multiple individuals, right? And this is what many people don't know. Sometimes you see what? A Qurbani list, right? So this is how somebody the names get kind of cut down by us this year. Because I mean we educate the people, right? The less on what? Deceased. Alright? So it doesn't mean that, understand, if you're doing Qurbani on behalf of a deceased person, right, you don't have to what? Do an entire share for what one deceased. You understand? You could do it, no problem. You could do it. But what is allowed in your nafil Qurbani, you could intend what? Multiple people. Right? So, your father, you do one for your deceased father. You do one for your, if you have to do a separate one for your deceased father, your deceased mother, your deceased grandfather, grandmother, and you have your brother, and you have the whole family. You have to get a whole farm to do Qurbani for you, boy. Because all these people are important people in your life, they passed away. Right? And then how you could do for this one and you do for that one? But I could only afford this amount of shares. Listen, one optional share. Everybody. Right? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam slaughtered what? 2 ram, 2 sheep. هذا عن محمد وهذا عن أمة محمد. The entire ummah. 1 sheep. Nafil. Right? That is the second one. That is after what? You have your wajib Qurban. The second one you could do that. Not your wajib one you intend what this one. No. Your wajib is for yourself. And if you want, a person has what? Extra wealth, right? He can do what? An optional one and intend. Right? Just listen. Just like a person making dua. Your father passed away. Your grandfather passed away. Oh Allah, forgive my what father, right? And you finish your dua. Or you can say, Allah, forgive my father, my grandfather, my uncle, my aunt that he has passed on or he have died, and you can stop. Or you can say, Allahumma maghfir li jami'il mu'minina wal mu'minat. Oh Allah, forgive all of the believing men and women. And that's the dua we make. Right? So similarly, a person who is nafil Qurbani, he can include what? Multiple what? Individuals. Alright? So you don't need a separate one for what? Nani and Nana and this one and that one and no. Once it's nafil, you could include what? And at the end of the day, you are the owner of that Qurbani. Understand? So if you buy the goat or the sheep with the intent of nafil Qurbani for what? 10 people, who own that goat? Dead people don't own anything. Who own the goat? You own it. It's yours. But this is your intent. So what you are allowed to do with what? The meat from your share is the same thing you're allowed to do the meat from that share. You could keep from it, you could share it out, whatever. Right? There's only one scenario where a person what? if he is doing Qurbani for what? A deceased, he has to share all of its meat. Only one scenario is that. A person in his lifetime, before he passes away, before he dies, right, he instructs that when I die, do Qurbani on my behalf. And that money is taken from his estate. The estate of the deceased. Right? He leaves an instruction first. He must leave an instruction, a wasiyah. If he doesn't leave any instructions, then no. He leaves instructions and commands and wasiyah that when I die, do Qurbani on my behalf. Do a Qurbani on my behalf. And that money meaning the estate could finance that. The estate finances that Qurbani. Right? So such a Qurbani, if you were to do it, right, all of its meat would be shared, would be given to the poor. Right? As opposed to what you do in Qurbani, right, on your own on behalf of a deceased without his instruction, without being taken from the estate of the deceased. Now,
So, for 6, this is 6, right? For me, I want to do one for the deceased. You also want to do one for the deceased on the same one, right? So, there are six of us and one group share. So, me and you put up and do for the deceased.
Right. So listen to this one, right? One share, 1/7 could only be what? Owned by one individual. One sheep, one goat, one individual. right? But you understand what the dilemma over here, right? So simple, make one person the owner, right? One person the owner, listen, but the shares were how much? The shares were $2,000. I only have 1,000. Yeah, give you 1,000, right? So you own the share. This is your intent. Inshallah, he will get rewards for contributing also, right? But you don't want to end up in a situation where two people have what? One share, right? You don't, that cannot work, right? One person to a share, right? Even okay, we want to chip up the thing about okay, chipping up doing Qurbani, right? If there's no chipping up doing Qurbani, hey, do the Qurbani this year now. Right? We get a sheep from 2,000. How much you have? 1,000. Okay, we do Qurbani. No. You know what? I give you the 1,000 and make you the owner of it and you do the Qurbani. Right? Or you give me the 1,000, make me the owner, I do the Qurbani. Two people can't share and a sheep will go to 1/7. Right? Even the optional one owner.
You want to take one share to the whole and this is farm. Right, so I put half and you put half and we do that share.
Right, so one person has to be the owner of it. Right, that is whatever he intends. Right?
Everybody will give you the money.
Yeah, you
do what you want to do.
Now we have. Yeah, go ahead. You should negotiate price. Because we have a real smart man now, because of the Qurbani season, right? Understand? Nothing wrong in negotiating, right? At the end of the day, people, listen, at the end of the day, we have if you have an item, right? For example, you have an item and you want $100 for it, right? And I come and tell you, listen, I paid $80 for it. Hey, it's just as simple yes or no, You don't have to go and boy and this man, I'm not selling it, boss. I'm not selling it. I just sell for 100, right? So if you can't pay, then no problem, right? If you're willing to what? To let it go for 80, I will take it. Okay, I'm not willing to finish. You don't have to go down and this and that and this man, how hard I just work and this and no. This is your price that you're offering. And this is how much he's willing to pay for it. So if it corresponds, okay, you get a sale, right? And if it don't correspond, okay, you bargain a little. And if you're willing to what? To give up, it's okay, right? And some people, for whatever reason, they think, Qurbani animals, you can't bargain. Well, I just bargain all my animals, right? But that was then. But now I have what? Fixed what? Suppliers at what? That animals already there, right? I have fixed suppliers for my animals, so nobody does, they don't allow anybody else to purchase these animals. So I have that thing of it. But in the beginning now, right? In the early days, for whatever reason they think, okay, you can't bargain. So that same animal is selling you for what? 10,000, 11,000, and Qurbani pass, butcher getting it for what? 6,000, 7,000. So what you selling me for 10,000, 11,000 for then? Eh? But I mean, listen, it's your right. Understand? If a person asks a follow-up question, hey, we can trade in Qurbani animals, hey, nothing wrong. Buying and selling permissible what? You buy vehicle, you sell vehicle. You buy bulls, you sell bulls. Nothing wrong with that. You buy goat, you sell goat, right? You sell at a profit. Nothing wrong with that, right? And the customer willing to pay the price, then go ahead. If you're not willing to pay the price, then go up the road and buy from somebody else. Simple as that, right? Or a Qurbani animal, people making a profit. So what happened for that? So you can't make a profit in Qurbani animal. You can make an Akika animal and Walima animal. No, khalas. If you purchase an animal and you, hey, Qurbani coming now, right? Just like time for Hajj. People come to make Hajj, or perform Hajj, we're going to sell, right? Oh, you making money out of Hajj. How you mean? We speak of people who are organizing the tickets, right? That's the front thing, right? We take about people who's selling over there, right? Ijtima come up, okay, people what selling thing outside. You come here to sell. What do you mean? We'll have people to buy. Nothing wrong with that, right? So it's not like, okay, you cannot what? Purchase an animal. Qurbani time comes up, you purchase a set of animals, right? And you're going to sell it over. Nothing wrong with that, right? I know why people just make other people feel guilty of what? Trading in animal. Leave out the word qurbani. Understand qurbani is what? Is the slaughter, right? You selling a bull, right? You are selling a qurbani bull. You selling a bull. If you want to do qurbani with it, he could do qurbani. If you want to sell it over, he could do it. If you want to slaughter the same day, he could do it. If you want to do a press with it, he could do it. You selling a bull. You selling an item, right? Now, but sometimes that is be hard for you to, right? I mean, normally if you go to a farmer, right? You doing qurbani, you go to a farmer, not a businessman. You go to a farmer, he'll give you a reasonable price, right? So the difficult thing about this is what we have. Okay, people that would go and would buy all the animals from the farmers, right? If you go now, what you're going to do? You're going to tell this man, listen, I want one bull. And you know what? Keep it for me until qurbani. So he want one bull or two bull, and had to keep that bull for him until qurbani. Next man come now, right? I'm taking what? 20 bull. I'm taking it now. So he selling that bull for 10,000 for what? That person, listen, he probably selling that bull for what, $10,000 or $9,000. But next man now coming to buy all of that bull for 20 bulls one time. He's getting that for what, $7,000. Farmer giving that. You're taking everything one time. So he getting that bull for what? $7,000, and the farmer might give you that for what? $7,000. You don't know, right? But when that person would purchase all them bulls for what? From this farm, that farm, right? He going to make a markup. So that same bull now you could get from the farmer from what? 7,000 or 8,000. You have to pay what? $11,000 for that bull now. Because this is a businessman we're dealing with now, not a farmer. And this is really the little problem we just have, right? Sometimes when the passing of the days to the price is just going up, right? So, anyhow, qurbani and hajj, right? It's two different things, right? Some people they get confused between what, because they call it qurbani also. Listen, when a person performing hajj, right? There are three types of hajj: ifrad, tamattu, and qiran. Right? We're not going into much details of hajj, right? But the second two types, hajj at-tamattu and hajj al-qiran. Type. These two hajj, there's a slaughtering is what obligatory. Slaughtering is wajib, right? And there's also slaughtered what on the 10th, on the day of Eid. This slaughtering has nothing to do with qurbani. This slaughtering is specific to hajj. No hajj package has qurbani included, even though they may write the word qurbani. That is not qurbani. That slaughtering is specific to hajj, right? You call it dam ash-shukr, the slaughtering of what? Gratitude, right? That person slaughters giving gratitude to Allah Azza wa Jal for having afforded him to perform hajj and umrah. That has nothing to do with qurbani. Right? So, many a times a person, he may go for hajj, right? And he may not what? He may think that is qurbani, he doesn't know qurbani, right? But if you look at what? Qurbani becomes obligatory upon a person, one of the conditions also that person be what? A muqim, a resident. He's not a traveler. Just like a traveler, Salatul Jumu'ah is not obligatory upon him, right? For what? So any qurbani is not obligatory upon any a traveler. So a person, understand, if he were to reside in Mecca, if he becomes what? A temporary resident, meaning he is in Mecca and he intends to stay over there for 15 days or more, right? And within that 15 days over there is what? The days of any qurbani. Then qurbani is obligatory upon that person. But it's not a condition he does the qurbani in what? In Mecca. No, he could do qurbani in any part of the world. Right? You could even do it at home. You could call them and listen, make arrangement at home to do qurbani. Any part of the world you can do qurbani. That dam ash-shukr we're speaking about is called hadi, right? And that had is specific to what? The precincts of the haram. It must be slaughtered there. And that is different from qurbani. Now you have what? the time of slaughtering. Alright, the time of slaughtering, the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And from the 10th, the earliest time a person can slaughter on the 10th, that's the day of Eid, is after what the Salah has been performed. Alright, after the Salah has been performed, and the timing for that Salah is what? From any time from Ishraq. Alright, but it doesn't mean, understand here, it doesn't mean that what? You must, is a condition that you perform the Salah, and also it doesn't mean that what the Salah be performed in your masjid. No. Once that Salah is performed, any part of what? The locality. Right? We have many masjids in what? In Barako. Salatul Eid is not even what? Restricted to a masjid. Right? Once that Salatul Eid is performed, then what? The allowance for everyone or anyone living in that what? That community, that district, right? There's allowance of what? To slaughter. So for example, what? Say Salatul Eid over here is what? Just say 10 o'clock, right? And you have a masjid what? Performing Salatul Eid, yani, say 7 o'clock, right? So you go into your masjid 10 o'clock, right? But after 7, you could slaughter your animal and this and then come for Eid. Why? Because Salatul Eid was already performed. It's not a condition that it be performed in your masjid, right? Or you perform that Salatul Eid. No, once that Salatul Eid is performed in that district, in that area, the allowance is there to slaughter. Alright? So slaughtering on the 10th from that time and goes what? Straight until what? Well, sunset would close off that day. That's the 10th. The 11th would start the day after sunset. And that's the night time. Many of the jurists, they mention in the books of fiqh that it is makruh and dislike to slaughter in the night time. Understand? That dislike and karah is because of what? The lighting, a person could get injured and slaughtered and this and that. Right? But we have, alhamdulillah, in this time, we have proper lighting, good lighting. So what? If that is the case, then there's no karah and there's no dislike. A person can what? Slaughter in the night also. Right? Except the best day to slaughter is the first day. Right? The best day to slaughter is the first day. Right? The hadith of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, ما عمل ابن آدم عملا يوم النحر يحب إلى الله تعالى من إراقة الدم. There's no action more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jalla on the day of Nahar, the day of slaughter, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, more beloved to Allah Azza wa Jalla than Qurbani, slaughtering. Alright? Understand? Qurbani is something and processing is something else. The moment what you slaughter, that is your Qurbani. Your Qurbani taking what? Less than a minute. That is your Qurbani. And the hadith mentioned, وَإِنَّ الدَّمْ لَا يَقَعُ بِمَكَانٍ قَبْلَ يَقَعَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ. And that blood, before it reaches the ground, it reaches a place. Before, listen, as it's slaughtered, blood gushes out and what? And reaches the ground. But Nabi alayhi salam will say, no, that blood, it reaches a place before it reaches the ground. It reaches a place of acceptance. Allah Azza wa Jalla accepts that Qurbani even before the blood reaches the ground. If a person does it with ikhlas and sincerity and piety and taqwa, that Qurbani already accepted before that blood even what touched the ground. Right? So, the point is, the time, it takes what? Plenty time to probably do the processing and cutting up and this and that. But if you can get it slaughtered before sunset, anytime, right? We'll process it next day. We can cut it up the next day. Right? But at least, try to get it slaughtered on the first day. We're not saying what is not allowed on the second day. No, it is allowed, permissible. Right? It's allowed on the third day also before sunset. Right? But the best day to actually do it is on the 10th, the first day. Are there no questions on it? Fasting only? Oh, that is, we're looking for the moon this Friday, right? Understand the ruling is what? According to the Hanafi madhab, that is what? Mustahab. Mustahab, recommended, right? Meaning that if a person were to do it, inshallah he'll be rewarded. Refrain from what? cutting the nails and clipping the hair until the animal is sacrificed. Right? The ruling in the madhab is that it is mustahab and recommended. It means that what? If a person what? He clips his hair or clips his nail, he's not sinful. Right? He's not sinful if he clips his hair or his nails. Why? Because it's not the ruling is not what? Wajib, obligatory. Right? So, yes, it is more desirable and recommended to refrain from clipping and cutting. Right? Having said that, if a person what? He has what? Hairs in his pubic region that is what? Beyond the length. It reaches a makruh length. Right? So even though he is doing qurbani and that person what? Should say about that. Right? He has to cut it. Right? Because it becomes what? Makruh and dislike. Right? Here is pretty much general. That is why what? As Imam mentioned it, so at least what? Listen, we're going to do everything one time. What? Shave and this and that. So you know what? We don't, after 10, within 10 days, not much going to grow anyhow. Alright? But if a person didn't shave that area we're supposed to shave, right? And he intends to do qurbani and the moon is sighted, then even though he is doing qurbani, that person should what? Remove those unwanted hairs. Right. And we always like to reiterate this point also. We always hear that, listen, yes, when you look at the definition of qurbani, it is done for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, for the pleasure of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Understand, we should not have any doubt and be suspicious in the niyyah and the intention of somebody. Right? Once that person is a Muslim, would we say that person just what? Performing salah for something else other than Allah? No. He may come in the masjid to meet this one and that one or whatever, but he praying to who? Allah. Understand? He praying to Allah Azza wa Jalla because he praying to somebody else or what? Not praying, we can't say that. So a person, a Muslim doing qurbani, we cannot say that person, hey, he doing qurbani for X, Y, and Z, other than the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. We cannot say that. And it's wrong for us to assume that. Right? Understand, the only person who would do qurbani for what? Other than the sake of Allah is a non-Muslim. You want to patronize. I got to take a share too. Right? But what he doing it for? He's not doing it for the sake of Allah. He's not a Muslim. So how are you doing it for the sake of Allah? Right? A person mentioning what he's going to do with his meat, that doesn't what? Contradict the niyyah of a person. My meat, I'm going to make burgers with it. I'm going to make biryani, kebab, this, barbecue. Wrong with this man, boy? Like he doing his qurbani for the meat or what? I'm not taking share in his bowl. No. If a person, listen, mentioning, okay, he planned out his menu, right? What he going to do with his meat? That doesn't mean he's not doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. So we should not think that person is what? Not doing it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. No. It has a su'adhan. That is to think what? Evil of a Muslim without any valid reason, any valid grounds. So that is what? No, that is not permissible. Right? Even what? A butcher, he will not do qurbani for the sake of meat. Because if he's a butcher, he's going to get what? He could get animals cheaper. Before, after qurbani, he will come qurbani time to what? To get meat to go and sell. So, a person what? He's a Muslim, he's participating in the qurbani, khalas, his what? Participation is for the pleasure of Allah. And this what? Brings us to what? Qurbani shares abroad then. Right? Forget abroad, let me just look in Trinidad here. If for whatever reason a non-Muslim were to take part in what? A bull, right? One of the 7 shares is a non-Muslim. Qadiani, a Shia, Rafida. Understand? A Christian or a Hindu person, you would know they wouldn't come with for a share, right? A Qadiani was Shia, Rafida, right? Because they consider themselves Muslims. And they take us that entire, the share all would not be valid. Alright? So having said that now, we have okay. Huh?
So in that hadith, you know, sending money outside.
That's what we're going to talk about now. Right? So now, understand, Qurbani is what? Based on your means. Huh? You understand? We check in and see. If you have the nisab then, right? If you have the nisab now is about $40,000, right? Those who go with the gold nisab, right? If you have the nisab, wait boy, a sheep is 2,000, 2,500. A share, how much are that a share? 15, 16, 1,700 a share. You call your, you see we taping all this, right? Right? You're not, and you see a text message on WhatsApp, Qurbani shares to India, $200. Huh? 200. Me and my mother and my father, dead living everybody, $200. I got talk to sorry about this recording here, right? But listen, look at the government we have in India. Let us research the Modi government, right? He always win an election. He win this last one. And what is the team? Hate Muslim, kill Muslim, and this is how he wins the election there, right? You can't go and just slaughter cow like that and be eating beef over there. How much time you see people get killed and beaten for that? And the same people, they said there's a chance we take in, you know. We could do it in this state, but we can't do it in that state, right? And one is the slaughtering and one is out moving all the meat. Or you all that beef. What do you put the people's life in jeopardy for? Why? Then why are you requesting it? Okay, we have shares in India, so. That is one aspect, right? The second aspect now, you could what? Listen, he would know, right? The Imam would know everybody taking shares with him. Personally, he would know, or through recommendation, right? Who collecting shares for India? Once you get your 200, who it comes, it doesn't matter. Make up a 200 and send. Right? Send a name, right? And you have it online also, what? Your PayPal, credit card, and what? You click, and you're gone, right? So what guarantee you have that what? A non-Muslim not in your share, in your bowl, what guarantee you have? What guarantee you have that a Qadiani is not from what? One of what? Your shareholders, right? Or a Shia, not from your shareholders, or you know what? People advertise Qurbani as what? Helping the poor and you know this. Non-Muslim, what? They donate to Palestine, they like to maybe patronize. Hey, I can do that too, right? Right? So John and Jeffrey, they take share too, right? So, I mean, understand, if it's not obligation, khalas, bas. You don't have the means, you don't have the means. But if you have the means, $200, subhanallah. And you must investigate that. So 200, understand, 200 multiplied by 7 is how much? 1,400. Go and check and see, okay, the price of the bulls that they sell in, they have in these places, the price and whatever. And sometimes the bull, the animals they see over there, what? The only bones you see, that the animal you want to what? The hadith mentioned, إِنَّهُ يَأْتِي بِأَقْرَانِهَا بِأَظْلَافِهَا بِأَشْعَارِهَا يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ. That's the animal you want to present? For $200, boy? And you know when sometimes people take offense, but this is the benefit of the class. We don't mention all this outer class anyhow, right? But understand, listen, yes, if you have you need correspondence and you need an arrangement, nothing wrong with that. You have a brother live in that place, you have a family living there, and you understand this, the money come in, right? And this is what we do, and you know it proper and legit, there's no problem, right? No problem. But many of the people who collect the money, ask them certain questions, they can answer. So what they're slaughtering, right? How the animal, well, we just collect it. Right? So this is one recording I'm going in YouTube. Because after that, none of the Gujaratis go like you. No. So a person what? We have, how much? We have 5 minutes? Right? So, in doing Qurbani also, we mentioned, okay, what? Listen, shares, right? We mentioned about optional shares, nafil shares. So you have your obligatory one. So there's nothing wrong in a person what he takes shares also with the intent of Aqiqah. Right? Because why? Is what? The wajhillah, for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Right? So, okay, we have a share, we have what? A cow, 6 people doing Qurbani and one doing what? Aqiqah, for what? On behalf of a child. For himself, it doesn't matter. Right? The jurors also, they give allowance for what? A person taking a share with the intent of a walima, right? Why? Walima is what? The sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So if a person taking a share with the intent of a walima, right? So you start to think about that, the marriage, and you take a share one time when you have, right? No, meaning what? Is a walima is a sunnah of the Prophet alayhi salam. You're not taking it, you understand? You're not taking a share with the intent of, okay, getting some meat to make what? Biryani to sell. Or getting some meat to eat. No, your intent is what? Walima, intent is Aqiqah, right? Or your intent is what? Our next nafil Qurbani. That is okay, right? What all of this has in common is what? Is done for the sake of Allah, right? And we finish with this last point over here. Sometimes, okay, the place, sometimes what? The place where what? The person doing the Qurbani, when the Qurbani is obligatory upon that, the individual, the place where he resides and the place where actually the Qurbani is taking place is what? 2 different places. Nothing wrong with that. Listen, as we mentioned, you can authorize somebody to do Qurbani on your behalf, right? You have a partner or somebody what? In any part of the world, hey, do Qurbani for me now, right? Just send him money or whatever, right? So he could Qurbani on your behalf, right? So now what could happen? You could have a difference in what? Hey, the timing, right? The difference in the timing, you understand? But until now, hey, we didn't perform Eid yet, and you slaughter already. Wait, over here what? Until now what? We still night time. The break of dawn are kicking as yet. Ishraq and coming as yet, and this man on slaughter my animal already. Understand? Listen, you take into consideration the place where the animal is, right? Not the place of the mudahi, not where you live in, right? You take into consideration the place where the animal is. So the place where the animal is, if what? It is allowed to slaughter at that time, then khalas, that will be jaiz. Meaning what? They already performed Salat al-Eid, right? The time already what? Set in, right? They can slaughter. Even though you here in Trinidad now, you still what? It's still night time. You understand? It's still what? We haven't performed Salat al-Eid as yet. Salat al-Yani, Ishraq hasn't what? Coming as yet. That is what? Irrelevant. What is what? Considered is the place where the animal is slaughtered. Right? So even though you're sending money, what? In India, for example, what? There's 9 hours difference, 8-9 hours difference. Right? So if it's permitted, what? They slaughtered in a permitted time, even though your time hasn't entered as yet, that will be any permissible. Alright? But we'll continue next week, inshallah. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.